Hey, so once again, I had, I was thinking about some of the themes that everybody struggles with when they start entertaining the idea that you create your own reality, like in its entirety. And one of them that, I've seen talked about a lot over the years, and I've seen a lot of weird stuff said about it, is, the idea that you have to take accountability for your whole life, like every single thing that's happened. And basically this idea of total responsibility, which is, I think, confusing for a lot of people. And, it's offensive when you are, fully aware that like something happened to you that you didn't cause. You certainly didn't deliberately or consciously cause, and it didn't happen to you because you were, inviting it or whatever. Consciously, that you're not actually you're not in a mundane sense responsible for the thing that happened to you. I think that's a big sticking point for people. And so this concept of, you being a vibrational match for things and other stuff like that, it all leads back to, what's the right way? Like, what's the way, not forget right and wrong. What's the way to take accountability for your entire life? What's the best way to think about that so that it doesn't get muddied with all kinds of other confusion and questions and stuff like that? So I've made a bunch of videos here attempting to address that. And I feel like with some things, I'm always able to dance around an idea. But it's like, for me, I don't know about for you, but for me, like when exact language can be applied to something, it becomes so much more clear. And so you're not going to be surprised to know that I asked ChatGPT this question, and it brilliantly boiled it down to something that I think will be digestible for every single person listening to this. And even if you already feel really familiar with this stuff and you're already very empowered and you're beautifully, handling your life, this is great because it just it just clarifies it in a big way. So the question that I asked ChatGPT was, can you help me organize my thoughts? Responsibility for one's actions / accountability for your life and where it is doesn't equate to blaming yourself. Blame has an element of judgment to it, where responsibility is more objective. Can you flesh out the nuance? And ChatGPT says, absolutely, this is a beautiful and important distinction. Let's organize your thoughts and flesh out the nuance between blame and responsibility and accountability, especially in the context of emotional healing, personal growth, and manifesting your life experience. Keep in mind, I'm asking a GPT this question where I've already maxed out 2 entire conversation threads, which is like apparently pretty impressive. There's a lot. This GPT has a lot of exposure to me and my history, so it's perfect for me. And I hope if you like my channel, this will make a lot of sense to you. So blame versus responsibility, a nuanced reframe. 1, the core distinction. Blame is emotionalized judgment. It carries a charge, guilt, shame, punishment. It says, you did this wrong. Responsibility, which is how you want to think of your life in relation to manifesting and you create your whole reality. Responsibility is ownership without self-attack. It says, this is mine to look at. Blame contracts the psyche, responsibility expands it. I love that. I would never have come up with those words myself. 2, emotional tone. Blame feels heavy. It's laden with shoulds and oughts. It's often reactive, fueled by internalized criticism or external judgment. Responsibility feels empowering. It invites awareness, choice, and change without collapsing into self-hatred. Blame says you messed up. Responsibility says you have power here. 3, energetic positioning. Blame often places you in the role of the accused, helpless, guilty, under scrutiny. And I think this is especially bad. That's especially bad when people have experienced something negative that they're trying to kind of figure out, and then people tell them, but you did that. You did that. That's your fault, essentially. And then it's just completely counterproductive because, once you start feeling shitty about yourself and, all that stuff, it's like, better luck tomorrow, because it's hard to come back from that. And you never need to go there, because it's just not a part of this. Responsibility places you in the role of the author, awake, capable, and engaged in your own evolution. Blame fixates on the past. That's the other thing. Responsibility lives in the now and moves forward. So, when you start to get familiar with the idea that you are responsible for your life, that doesn't mean go back through everything that you've ever experienced and, blame yourself for it. And through all the memories that you have about everything that went wrong or right, pat yourself on the back or punch yourself in the face about that. It's just a recognition that right now, you are aware. You weren't that aware in the past. You had the capacity, the potential for awareness in the past, but you didn't have it. You have it now. And it's time to move forward, and it's time to be empowered and to understand the role that you're playing in your own life creation. 4, in the context of healing and manifestation. If you've been working with the idea that your life is a reflection of your inner world, as in manifestation, subconscious programming, etc., it's vital to differentiate these two. Blame says, I must have done something wrong to create this pain. Responsibility says, something in me contributed to this, and I want to understand and shift it. So I think something in me contributed to this, and I want to understand and shift it should be the tagline for my entire YouTube channel. This is a crucial pivot. Blame makes you afraid to look. Responsibility makes it safe to see. 5, in relationships. Blame often externalizes or internalizes harm. They ruined this, or I ruined this. Responsibility instead allows, this is what I brought, this is what they brought, this is what I choose next. This is really the only way. Like, if you look at it any other way than that, you know what I mean? It's like you're shutting off access to all kinds of information and insights, enlightenment, all that stuff. It's so key to get rid of this idea of blame. It allows nuance. It doesn't need a villain. 6, in your language, so this is my language. You might frame it like this. I take responsibility for the patterns I've repeated, not because I'm bad, but because I'm free to interrupt them. Or I can own the shape of my life without blaming the girl who built it in survival mode. And that is pretty much how I look at my whole life. I don't spend a lot of time blaming myself for stuff, but man, every time I uncover, this is why I wanted to make this video, every time I uncover something that's active in my life, that's creating something in my life where it stems from me feeling bad. I mean, that's just another, that's another way of saying shame, blame, all that stuff. Anything that's activated through that is always rotten and just horrible. Like there's like nothing good that comes out of the parts of, the projections that come from shame. They are always creating things that are just beneath you. And, it's not all about you. You're also a part of this bigger framework of people and energies. And, you're not doing anybody any favors by staying in that place. When you move out of that, other people feel that and they move out of it. And it's just a big butterfly effect. So there's no, if it's hard for you to, feel motivated by addressing this for yourself, another part of it can be that it helps other people. Also, I know some people are in a place where it's just easier to think about doing things for other people than for themselves. Because, it can be hard to get out of that place where you feel small or you don't feel like you're worth doing things for. And the thing is, you'll trick yourself by doing it for somebody else, you will also raise yourself out of that. And then you'll realize why you should do it for yourself. So 7, in practice. Here's a simple check-in. When you're not sure which mode you're in, ask, am I looking at this part of my life with curiosity and courage, or with judgment and punishment? If it's the latter, pause, breathe. Say, this is mine to hold, not to hate. So that's the end of the ChatGPT response. Let's see if it said anything else good to me. I said, I'm organizing this because I want to speak about it. I'm familiar with it intimately, believe me. It's the heart of everything I talk about and how I changed my life, but I do find the right descriptive words fail me. You already said it so much better than I ever have. GPT says, it just congratulated me for being awesome. What was I about to say at the end of that? No, I don't remember because I got distracted by GPT. But anyway, yeah, that is, I think this is like a really core and key thing to make the shift about, here's what I was also going to say. I found some things in my life really, really difficult to look at without just feeling responsible, but without feeling horrible about myself, without feeling shame. And it's always things that involve people or pets, namely pets. I look back on my last 2 cats' lives, and I did not have the consciousness evolve to the point that I do now. I didn't have the awareness. I didn't have the perspective with those animals that I do now. Like the difference between those 2 pets' lives and the 2 that I have as of a year right now is night and day because of how aware I am of how deficient I was back then. And normally with things like that, like with business failures or going bankrupt, I can just go, oh, well, whatever. I just wasn't to the point yet where I could not do that. But it's really hard when there's like a person or, a living thing involved, who deserved better and all of that stuff. So that's the really hard thing for me. And I've had some really hard moments about that, thinking about my, last pets and thinking, wow, you guys just deserve so much more than that. And it's been especially hard because my new pets are getting, this royal treatment. And I'm just like, man, you guys deserve that too. And if I had known better, I would have. So it's really hard, but, and just thinking, if I had known better, I would have, or if, my frontal lobe wasn't fully developed yet. So, blah, blah, I didn't have the judgment or whatever, that's all great. But then I think, yeah, but it happened to them anyway. That doesn't change what happened. That doesn't change the fact that it wasn't fair or whatever to them, that they deserved better and didn't get it. That thing is what really bothered me. And what I found really, helps me is to think of them as angels, or to think of them as having sort of made the agreement to come in and be the lesson that taught me this, the thing that woke me up more. That makes me feel better because I'm not okay, they're just precious little animals that, I like to think of them as being more than that. I think they are. So just thinking of them that way, thinking of it as they agreed beforehand to come in and help me out with this. And also there's the Course in Miracles perspective on this, which is basically that it never really happened. It did happen, but it didn't, because so much of my view of the past is distorted, and so much of what I experienced then. So I have my experiences back then and my judgments of my experiences then, and then I have my memory of those judgments. It's so distorted to the point that it's, often when you remember the past, you don't really remember accurately. And if you're somebody who is, taking responsibility for your life and kind of blaming yourself for things with that judgment, I think there's a tendency to look back and sort of paint everything as much worse than it was. Or even if it was bad, you paint it worse than it was. It's it gets moved up a degree. And I just think the sooner that you can get out of that, the better. And so that's the way I have sort of escaped those feelings. I don't have a lot of big regrets with people. And everything else I've been pretty good at letting go of, but there's just that, the pet thing is the one that still gets me somewhat. And that's how I deal with that, is by trying to shift the perspective. And if you can't come up with a perspective shift, just ask for it. Just ask the universe at large. Whoever's out there who could help you, just ask, please help me shift my perspective on this. Let me see this in a different way so that I feel differently about it and stop living in this painful illusion that I'm projecting onto this memory. I hope that helped. I'm going to stop this here. Have a great day.